When I came to write this, I was reminded of a story told to me by one of my mentors called Nathan Ricks. Nathan used to be an estate agent, and every month he'd earn commission, but the next month he'd have to start all over again. He said it was like building a house where all the bricks he laid got taken away at the end of every month. Meanwhile, his brother-in-law had a business that built on the work that he'd done each month, so he was building a house that just kept rising. Not wanting to be beaten by his brother-in-law, Nathan changed his business vehicle. He got himself an even faster sports car, and he's never looked back. So to recap, the most likely way to create wealth is through creating a business that once it's established will run on its own and pay you an investment income. A business that generates income because at the end of the day cash flow is all that matters. It's what pays the bills from day to day and supports your lifestyle. Now I'm going to show you how it's possible to create a business over a year or so that might, for example, pay you £50,000 per year. Now how much would a business like that be worth? Well, if you assume that a reasonable return on investment is 5%, then that business is an asset worth £1,000,000. And this kind of wealth is being created by ordinary people. Let's get it clear, I'm not talking about this. There's no shortage of so-called business opportunities, and believe me, I've been there. I've even taken a course in Forex and stock market trading, but the telling question you should ask yourself is why don't the people teaching these courses just use their skills to make the millions they're promising you, rather than having to run courses to make money? Most of what you see here is at best gambling, and more often throwing your time and money away. Sure, people are making money online with Amazon and eBay, but that's small business by and large. Some infamous investment funds have turned out to be pyramids and Ponzi schemes. And house flipping was another strategy in which huge numbers of people lost their life's earnings. Now I believe property can be a good investment done properly, but it's a long and slow process. Now the fashion is get-rich-quick online schemes, no effort required. The bad news is that the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. Wealth only follows investment of money or time. So, do I hear you saying, I don't have time or money? You have as many hours in the day as the richest person on earth. It's just a question of how you invest it. So let's get down to practicalities. Essentially, you can create three different types of businesses. The majority of new ventures are traditional businesses created from scratch. However, I go to a lot of business networking events, and at these events, probably 1/3 are working under the umbrella of a franchise, including businesses such as ground maintenance, HR and management consultants, finance advisors, and hotels. About 10% are operating a network business alongside their full-time job as an extra, and about 1% are network professionals working full-time. So what have I learnt about the pros and cons of each approach? Firstly is the traditional business startup, of which a staggering number are created each year. If yours is a simple service-based business you can run from home, the startup cost may be moderate, enough to support you for 6 months or a few years till you develop your customer base. But if you're manufacturing something or you need plant and equipment, you're likely to be looking at significant startup costs, personally financed or guaranteed. Unfortunately, between 90 and 95% of these new ventures fail within a few years for a variety of reasons. The biggest cause of failure is starting a business that you love but for which there is little demand, and then there's undercapitalization and inexperience and other factors. At the end of the day, the majority of businesses that survive don't pay you much, so you're likely to be working harder for the company than you would in a job, and probably getting paid less. I know because I've been there. Now I agree that you're looking to create a business that will take off so that you can sell it or retire early. But you have to look at the statistics and realize that you're maybe talking in terms of 1 in 100, and that's not great odds. So the second choice is a franchise business, and a franchise business has considerably lower risk because it's a proven business model. Basically, you're taking a business that has already been established by someone else, they know that it works, and you're taking advantage of that. Unfortunately, for that, you're going to pay a very high cost. Generally, the more you pay for a franchise, the more you're going to get as a return on your investment. But the rewards are limited in a number of ways, because essentially when you buy a franchise, you're just being given a small territory. You're going to be paying commission to the franchisor every month. You're also going to be paying them for marketing materials and other things. So effectively, you're working for the franchisor. It's like you're the manager of a shop within a big chain. And then thirdly, we have the network business. And this kind of business is not generally understood. There aren't many people doing this kind of business, and many of the people doing it are not particularly experienced, so they don't necessarily explain it very well. However, just like a franchise, it is a proven business model. You're working under the umbrella of hopefully a well-known brand. They've developed the products, the marketing material, the manufacturing, and the distribution. Now, one of the key differences between a franchise and a network business is that a network business is very low cost, if any cost at all. And this has advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is very low risk. The disadvantage is that because you've really put nothing into the business, it's very easy not to actually put any effort in and to follow through. And if you don't do that, you're not going to be successful. Now again, in the network business, thousands of companies have been created over the years, but there's only about 1 in 20 that have survived long term. So you need to make sure that you're actually working with the best company. The reward potential is very high because it doesn't have the same restrictions as a franchise. You're not limited to one territory, and so the business can actually grow exponentially. And whilst with every business, you're going to have to start off for the first year or few years doing a lot of work for the business, and you're going to be putting more into it than you're getting out. Once this kind of business grows to a certain size, the business develops a momentum of its own, and the business becomes an investment, and it works for you. So looking at the three business models here, I think the weakest of the three is the traditional business, because you're going into the business very often blind, without experience. People are creating businesses that are not proven. I think the best choice is between a franchise and a network business. And I'm sure you understand the franchise concept, but not many people understand networking, as I've said. The franchisor, of course, sells you exclusivity in a certain geographical area, maybe a county, maybe a small part of a town. They hopefully have a strong brand which is in demand, and they show you a system and sell you the marketing material. And then they take a percentage of your profits. Now, not all franchises go well by any means, but if you do very well, then you might buy another franchise, if you can cope with managing them both at the same time, because they're your businesses and you need to be hands-on in managing franchises. Now, a networking company has some similarities. They have hopefully a strong brand, which is also in demand, and they have a system for you to follow. The difference is they don't generally charge you anything to become a distributor. The company pays you commission rather than you paying them. And they also pay a commission to the person who will help you get started and mentor you. You don't get an exclusive territory, but you do have an unlimited territory. Just as with a franchise, each distributor firstly develops a customer base. So let's imagine this is you. Good networking companies sell higher quality products than you'll find on the high street. And so they promote the products through recommendations. You benefit from the products and you tell others about your experience, and some of those people will also want the same benefits. You're just looking for those people. You're not necessarily looking to create a big business, just find a small network of personal customers. What then happens is that some of the people you talk to will also start recommending the products to others, and you can give them a distributorship. You pass on the skills that you learnt to them, and they could create a business the same as or larger than yours. And so this continues, and the customer base of your team doubles and then trebles, although you personally are not even meeting or talking to most of these customers. The beauty of networking is that you start off rather like a franchise, running one outlet. But once you've learnt the ropes, you become the franchisor. And that's important because in a franchise business, the franchisee only makes a limited income from their own outlet. whilst the franchisor's income rises with every new franchise that gets started. Networking is the same. You get a small income from being a distributor, but you get a large income from duplicating that distributorship. Because each distributor is running their own business in exactly the same way that you are, they're self-motivated. And once you help them get started, they don't need you. So your income is rising, but not your workload. Fairly soon, you find that your income is coming not from the customers that you look after, but from your distributors who are looking after themselves. And of course, if you can create a distributor team, then this being a level playing field, all of your distributors can do the same and create a second level of distributors, still in your team though. And so it goes on by now developing a life of its own. And over a few years, you might have 40 personal customers and 10 distributors, but your original effort has created thousands of customers for your company partner. Now, a common misconception is that only the people at the beginning make money, but that's simply not the case, because everyone is effectively at the start of and in the middle of their own team. Some companies only pay commission based on 2 levels of the distributor's organization, and so that distributor doesn't even earn any commission on the 3rd level or beyond. Everyone earns income mainly due to how many distributors they have personally mentored to create a customer base like their own, and nothing else. So in any particular company, the more you put in, the more you get out, although there are some big differences between companies. For example, some pay you as a distributor on only 2 levels or 3 levels, and others pay on as much as 6 levels. And 6 levels may include a team that is 20 times larger, which obviously makes a huge difference in potential income. And then there are some companies that work in a different way, where you're only allowed to appoint 2 distributors personally, thus creating just 2 lines, and they will only pay you on the weakest of those 2 lines. This is fairly common with newer companies, so never jump in quickly before you have done your research. And I would suggest you do your research in 5 ways. Firstly, I would look at the trends. You're looking at a business that you're going to be working with for maybe 20, 30, 50 years. It's a business that you can actually pass on to your family. So you're looking for a business that is growing in the long term, something where you know that the business is going to keep growing because there's actually a global trend that's creating a demand for that particular company. And secondly, you want to look for a company that has a very good track record. Probably about 60,000 companies have been created over the last 50 or 60 years. Only 2,000 of those companies are still in existence, and only about 15 companies have grown big enough to have a turnover in excess of $1 billion per year. These are the largest and most established network marketing companies in the world with a significant presence in the UK, as published by the Direct Selling Association. In order to be published, the companies have to be publicly listed or provide figures which are guaranteed. The largest of these companies have been trading for over 20 years. Some are fairly static, but almost half are continuing to expand. So I would suggest that you want to work with a company that is growing, that has been trading for at least 10 years, and is one of the top 20 in terms of turnover, which means around $1 billion a year or more. So don't be tempted to go for a company that has just been created within the last few years, because the highest failure rate is going to be within the first 5 and even 10 years. So the third thing to look at is what products this company is producing. One of the things I'd say with any networking company is that you have to really believe in the product. So it has to be a product that appeals to you, one that you will be using personally, one that you can see the point of and that you're passionate about. You also want this to be a product that is unique. So you want to be working with a company that has patented products that are completely different to any other company, because otherwise it will be copied by other companies and then you're competing on price. And that's how a lot of companies that haven't survived have failed, because their products are not particularly exceptional. And then, as I touched on earlier, you need to look at the income structure, the way in which the company is going to pay you, and look at the published figures, because most of these companies are publicly traded, and as such they have to publish all of the income figures of their distributors. So look at exactly how much the average distributor gets paid. Now fifthly, and this is really important, is support. Because when you're starting a business, the biggest factor to your success is going to be how you personally approach the business, how you behave, your mindset, and various other things. You're looking for support from the company, but even more so, a quality of support from the person that introduced you to this business, who is going to be your mentor. And also the people above that person in their team. Have they created a large team? And therefore, if they've done that, they can show you how to do the same. You're going to learn from their experience and not make mistakes. So, whatever company you're looking at, do your research, score the company you're looking at on all of these factors, and only go with a company that satisfies you in all 5 of these areas. If you do that, you're maximizing your chance of success.